Well folks, here we go. We can go up to 50 now. I'm not using much throttle, just gradual. Still not supposed to use full throttle and prolonged, shall we say, high speed. So there we are, 50 mile an hour, smack on 4,000 RPM. And the wind noise from the top of the screen, top of the helmet is, well, to be honest, it's only a bit more to me anyway. I don't know what you think on the recording. It is a bit too much, mind, anyway. And of course this is with the screen in the standard position. So today we're going shopping for SMLE. The clutch cable for SMLE runs down the front left down tube, and it's, well, not exactly held in place as such, because it does allow some movement, with what you might call pre-cable ties. They do the same job in a very similar way, sort of mid-70s I suppose. Any cables required tying together were done so using a quite rubbery, broader sort of cable tie, which still had sort of a ratchet system, but they were quite soft and didn't cause any damage generally, because they were soft. The types on SMLE are the same as those, but they're quite hard. Not as hard as a cable tie, a modern cable tie, but quite hard, and thus it's starting to mark the paint. And in one place it's actually worn through the paint a little bit, but that is the cable, not the tie. So we're going to do a bit of, if you like, prevention is better than cure. We're going to get some modern cable ties, and I'm using, shall we say, authentic for the style of bike, cloth insulation tape, which is fantastic stuff and quite hard to get hold of now. I'm using some of that, firstly to move the clutch cable away from the frame just slightly, and then to wrap round the frame in that vicinity where the cable ties will be. I've added some of this cloth tape where one of the main parts of the loom comes in and out to the right side of the top rail of the frame, between the frame and the petrol tank, and you can see where the seam has been marking, not cutting but marking, the outer insulation. So you've got your wires, your insulation, and another layer over the top of that, and it doesn't look very neat, although it may be authentic to the style, but it's what it does that counts really. I may neaten it up. I suppose the ideal thing would be to take the tank off, get hold of the loom, hopefully fairly easy at one end or the other, and put some heat shrink over the top of that, but can't see that being very easy. But today's trip, other than the cable ties, is for some auto sole. I don't like using it, to be honest. I find it well, it used to be a bit too harsh, and I'm going back now to the around 92, 3, 4 when I had a Virago, and the lacquering was not brilliant on the Viragos. I used it sparingly, shall we say, only when necessary, and I'm going to use it on the exhaust to get some of the staining off my boots, off the exhaust. But the exhaust itself is only a year old. Whilst the exhaust is pretty good all round really, the welding's a bit untidy, does the job. It's stainless of course, but I've been considering getting it chromed. Found a localish place that specialises in bike and car parts and the chroming of them, so I may try that. Back in about 2004 I think it was, it might have been autumnish 2003, I was sat where that white Kia is there on my Honda VTR 1000 SP2 auto machine. Lights changed, I pull away, and I get about halfway between these lights and the lights across in the middle there, turning right. A red Peugeot 405 jumped the lights, which by then had been red for several seconds, I mean probably 5 seconds or so. And I got to about here, slammed on the brakes, did probably my first ever stoppie, and went over the handlebars. If I hadn't have done that, I'd have hit him, probably front right corner of his car, and God knows what would have happened to me. The bike could have probably been a write-off. It would probably been an head-on at about, well, at least 30 mile an hour impact, I should think. And I'm going to swear, folks, the bastard fucked off. I do apologise for that, but you know, knocking off 20 years ago now, and it's getting right up my ute even now. Anyway, time went by and I inquired with the police. We haven't been able to trace him. However, some time later, the car had been stopped in a police check. By the time I turned round, got back, he cleared off all the oil. So hopefully his outstanding little misdemeanour, all being well, might have been, shall we say, paid for. Still don't know to this day. All I know, it cost £3.5 to put the bike straight. I suppose, folks, I'd better update you on the front brake, which is arguably the I don't know, most niggly thing. I mean, it does the job, but you just gotta, as I said before, work at it a little bit. Also, as I said before, I probably overstated the tugging needed, and I suppose it stands to reason and common sense that now I've done 340 miles, maybe I've got used to it, but it does feel a lot better. Obviously it's got a bed in and everything, but it does feel a lot better. Again, perhaps I've got used to it, I don't know. It doesn't seem to now require as much effort as it did before. See what I have noticed? No matter how many chins I've got these days, or how fat my neck is, it don't stop the draft going down past the collar of the coat and making your neck chilly. They like to wear those tubular things, whatever they call them, neck warmers, somewhere else to faff with, but I think I could do with a jumper with a little bit more neck on it. That reminds me, actually, I used to have I think it was a Harlequins rugby top, and I wore that all the time, even though the one arm was virtually a hole, complete hole, emanating from the elbow. Across the 7. You may not be able to see this with the difference in light between the fields and the sky and the hills, but up there is what we call the golf balls. I mentioned them before in a previous episode. Well, roughly that's where we're going, not quite to the golf balls, but about as far as we can get. It's a favourite place of mine. It's nearly always windy, and it's probably about 1450 feet up, roughly. The road's around 1350 feet up, I suppose, and it's Titterstone Clee viewpoint. There may even be an ice cream van up there this time of year, we'll see. It's a very well mannered machine. Okay, I'm not exactly doing the world superbikes with it, but really well mannered. We're coming into Clearbury Mortimer, folks. Now watch it here, because there's a 20-mile-an-hour section through the main part. In the week you probably won't get past 10. It's quite a busy little spot. Handy spot too, good little cafe. I recommend there, I think it's called the London Breakfast. It's like 3 of most things, and beans and fried bread and a cup of tea or coffee. Yeah, about £7.5 I think. The home of Hobson's Brewery, and I recommend Hobson's Best Bitter in the Jeweller's Arms and Jewellery Quarter, just outside Brum. There's the cafe, Clearbury Cafe. A nice grub there. Parking is a bit awkward, of course it's late in the day now for a Sunday, so it's a bit easier. And in September, just up this road here and a little bit further, at the school, is a decent little bike show. It's not massive, but it has some quality machines, and although the quality is there in some of the machines, and in fact maybe if I'd have found the owner of the chap who was selling a 1968, I think it was, 67 original Royal Enfield Continental GT, the 250, perhaps I'd have bought that and not Webley. The write-up included a bit of history and that. It wasn't a bad machine, but the write-up included first bike to have 5-speed gearbox and 13 neutrals. Nice little show though. I think it's about the first Saturday or second Saturday in September, something like that. Actually the Clees are looking quite clear for the way the weather is today. If you go on the Facebook page and look in the album for SMLE, going back to December last year, at the road at the top near the village viewpoint. I was above the clouds. It's marvellous, absolutely marvellous. Hopton wafers. I wonder if the old Land Rover's still on the side with no engine in. Yeah, there it is. I don't know how many years that's been there, but surprised it's still level and the chassis hasn't snapped. But there you go. Right, the climb starts here, folks. Just nipped it into top. Doing 40 miles an hour. 3,000 RPM. Dropping to 37.5. Gonna have to change down. Obviously can't wring her neck yet. The full running period is up to 1,250 miles. There we go. Fourth gear, 4,000 RPM, 42.5 miles an hour. Nipping into fifth. We're doing about 3,300 RPM. Holding 42.5 miles an hour. I can say that quite accurately, folks, because it's a really good clock, really clear. Lost a bit there, but ooh, 39, 3,050 RPM roughly, 3,100, something like that. And that's the main part of the climb done. So it climbs quite quickly. Series 3 lightweight. Over there is the Malverns in the distance. But there is a viewpoint map up here, I think, or there used to be, so we'll stop there and we'll have a look. You've got to watch the mobile woolly boulders. As Dirty Harry found out, to the cost of a new wing, they're solid things. This used to be a calf. It'd be rather handy, wouldn't it, now? There's a few shops here. There's a chippy as well when it's open. There's the map. We'll park up and we'll have a walk.